Welcome, everybody, to Survive and Advance on the Gruely Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. And right now, I'd like to welcome in our other host, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing good. Getting ready for some rain out here in Los Angeles, which is a rarity in its own right. May even have some mudslides at some point this week, so it's getting messy out here. But other than that, missing sports. I never realized how much I miss sports until you just don't have them, because basically after we get done doing this glorious show, the day is over. I mean, I got to go watch another Disney movie with my family or something like that.
Well, Disney's evil. I've told you that. But my thing is this. It has made me realize how much I don't miss it.
Really?
Really. I don't really care.
I didn't realize how much over the weekends I watch sports and don't turn on.
Well, the one thing that has really hurt for me is I don't know what day it is.
Oh, God, I can't tell what day it is. Yeah, I asked my wife the other day, I said, what the hell day is today? Because you used to gauge things by, Saturday, Sunday, here we go. We know the sporting events are occurring on this date. But yeah, no, that's been a really hard part, is trying to figure out what date it is. And I don't know. Do you guys have everything locked down in beautiful Lawrenceburg, Indiana?
It's supposed to be, but there's still dumbasses standing cheek to cheek at the Dairy Queen.
With their frosty lipstick?
Yeah, so I would think in the next week they'll probably just mandate it, and we'll probably have troops in the streets just to get all the retards to stay in their house. I mean, this is the thing. We don't go anywhere unless it is an absolute necessary.
Go ahead.
Really, I've practiced social distancing most of my life, except for during football seasons.
I think social distancing has practiced its life on you.
No, I think it's the other way around. I really don't want to be around people most of the time, because most people are just not good. But I can tell you one thing. We got some sad news this morning. A friend of the show, Ed Biles, who was the former head coach of the Houston Oilers, who'd been on the show numerous occasions, passed away from leukemia this morning, and we just want to make sure that we mention that and we pass along prayers to his family.
Yeah, Ed was, he had some fun at my expense on the show a couple of times, which was, I love that kind of stuff. And what a gregarious young man, even at his age. And he is, and his personality will be sorely missed, and the NFL could use more people like Ed Biles.
The world could use more people like Ed Biles.
You're a good point. You expounded well beyond the NFL. I take that full-heartedly, but I really enjoyed the time and privilege to get to speak with Ed Biles and learn from him, listen to his stories, which were phenomenal. And, there's a lot of good out there, and Ed certainly was on that list that was, nice and not naughty.
Yeah, and I want to bring up the fact that if anybody wants to hear the Legend show I did with him, that you can go on to gruelingtruth.com and find that. And also, he was on Survive and Advance a couple times making fun of Steve. Mm-hmm. If you want to hear that, you can just type his name, Ed Biles, in a search engine on the Grueling Truth, and that'll come up. But he was one of a kind, and he will truly be missed. All right. So our topic today.
And just one thing, I suggest that you do that, not because of the journalistic genius of myself or even you, who is far superior than I am, but just because of the wit and humor and earthiness that Ed Biles brought to our show and to the NFL, as you said, into the general population overall. So,
well, how about this? The reason I've always done the Legend shows, no matter what sport it was, whether it was Bobby Plump in Indiana high school basketball or Robert Brazil, is because at some point we all are gone. And this way, there is a record. You could go on and you can hear those stories and you can hear what kind of life he led. And that's kind of the whole point of the Legend show, to let people tell the story of their lives. And that's why this website started, is what it was based on. But today, we're going to talk a little NCAA, because
Why not?
There's no higher standing institution in the world than the NCAA, and today we are going to talk about them declining.
Well, wait, can I throw in Congress and the presidency and the three executive branches?
But they're all together
They might
anyways.
They're all together. Exactly. Go ahead. I apologize for interrupting.
But so today we're going to talk a little bit about the NCAA declining to give a fifth year of eligibility for basketball players, basically anybody in fall and winter sports. We're also going to start off with our main topic, which is Rick Pitino. And there's no doubt that Coach Pitino has achieved tremendous success as a college basketball coach. He is also, and there can be no doubt of this, run afoul of NCAA rules at various points in his career. And that caught up with him when he was ousted as the Louisville head coach. Now, when we look at this, Steve, we'll get your opinion here in a second, but we'll just do a little quick run through. He played guard at the University of Massachusetts. He moved on as a coaching intern in 1974. He was briefly the interim head coach there as well. The program was hit by NCAA sanctions, and they had 64 violations, and 8 of them were Pitino's, and the University of Hawaii was told to get rid of him. Now, later on, he goes to Boston University. He was successful. He got him to the tournament, which was a big deal at Boston University. He became the next coach. Then he went to Providence. I think he took the Providence job in 1985. Got him all the way to the Elite Eight with Billy Donovan in 1987, or the Final Four, actually. They upset Georgetown, I think, in the Elite Eight that year. 1989, he took over a scandal-ridden Kentucky, not from him, but from Eddie Sutton and Joe B. Hall and those yahoos that coached him before. He won a national championship there. And then he goes to the Celtics, where he completely failed again. And then he goes to Louisville, goes to a couple Final Fours, wins a championship. But in 2009, he confessed that he had an affair with the wife of the team's equipment manager and paid for her to have an abortion. She later got convicted for extorting millions of dollars from Pitino, but he admitted that he paid for the abortion. Now, a more sweeping scandal that impacted the team broke in 2015. A former director of basketball operations was found to have provided strippers and prostitutes to players and recruits in a campus dormitory over several years. The school declared itself ineligible for postseason play in 2016, and the NCAA suspended Pitino for the first 5 games of the upcoming season. And Pitino said in the aftermath, "I will not resign and let you down. Someday I will walk away in celebration of many memorable years, but that time is not now." Now, that kind of went to hell because his more recent scandal was Adidas money. And it involved a star recruit being paid $100,000 by the sneaker company Adidas to attend Louisville. At the time he was recruited, Pitino told News Radio 840, "We got lucky on this one. I had an AAU director call and ask me if I'd be interested in a player. I said, yeah, I'd be really interested. In my 40 years of coaching, this is the luckiest I've been." So, he lost his job for that. What's your take on Pitino? Should he be coaching at Iona?
You know, Mike, you did a phenomenal job of painting a picture of Rick Pitino. And it's very hard to defend Rick Pitino based on your accurate portrayal of his legendary coaching career. But as long as the NCAA operates the way they operate, I'm sure he should coach. I don't see why not. He's molded good kids, and by and large part, he's had success everywhere he's gone. Now, has he cheated his way into it? Based on your diligent review, yes, he has. It appears he has. I don't believe he's ever been suspended, fined, or kicked out by the NCAA.
He has been suspended because he got a 5-game suspension, and also Louisville fired
Was that by the
ass.
NCAA or by the university?
Well, the NCAA, after they self-imposed the no tournament, he did get busted with 5 games there. I think the bigger issue here is this. It's not whether he should be coaching or not, because there's no doubt he shouldn't. But there's also no doubt that there's other people that shouldn't either.
Right.
This is a
That's
sport.
why I go back to the NCAA.
College basketball. Bruce Pearl has coached at Auburn with a show cause penalty attached to his name. And see, that's the other thing. Pitino's got a show cause penalty attached to his name. Louisville could still get busted for this year while Pitino's coaching at Iona. And it's also possible that all of a sudden Pitino could be slapped by this too. He probably won't. Because when you look at the history of the NCAA and coaches, if you win, they'll figure out a way to allow you to do what you do. You had Steve Fisher, who got another chance at San Diego State after being in charge at Michigan during the Fab Five era, which we know those guys didn't all show up there because they wanted to go to college. John Calipari is among the NACE's highest-paid coaches in Kentucky, even though he vacated Final Four appearances at UMass and Memphis. And you had Todd Bozeman, who got another chance at Morgan State after admitting to paying a player while at Cal. You got Will Wade, who is still coaching at LSU despite being caught on a wiretap discussing a strong-ass offer for a prostitute. I almost said prostitute. I was thinking of Rick Pitino, for a prospect. Sean Miller is still coaching in Arizona despite his top assistant being caught on a wiretap discussing what he said Miller's role was in a pay-for-play scheme. And then you've got Bill Self, who's still coaching the nation's top-ranked team at Kansas, despite a pending NCAA case most believe will result in severe punishments, both for Kansas' storied program and Self himself. So, I mean, these guys are untouchable. And on the bottom...
Well, then you've got Kelvin Sampson at Houston as well.
Yeah, but Kelvin Sampson, wasn't it just phone calls, which were illegal and everything? But we're talking about guys here beyond the stuff Kelvin Sampson did. And we're talking about guys paying players thousands of dollars to come play for them.
Well, okay, Mike, so let me ask you this, because I don't think that Rick Pitino was
that would be a
first
cool-ass name, though. It sounds like a mob boss.
Who?
Rick Pitino.
Panepinto? He was actually the first sales rep I ever hired in my career at Pfizer as a sales manager. Great guy.
Did you have to pay him an extra $10,000 to take the job?
He was a boat driver for the U.S. Navy. He drove aircraft carriers.
Okay.
Anyway, is Pitino guilty? Because there are so many other coaches involved at various levels. Or is this just a case of Pitino stroking the system that the NCAA allows to be stroked because they will not ratchet down because of the money involved to the NCAA? And that's why I think it should be fine that Pitino should still be coaching, because the NCAA can't get their heads out of their rears and come up with a license that every NCAA head coach has to obtain a license to coach in college basketball. But let's go back, and I watched Animal House the other day. Isn't this really an indictment on our entire educational system?
Yes.
If we're going to allow this, because these kids are going to college, let's face it, the bulk of the kids, the superstars especially, are not going to college to get a degree as much as they are going to get a ring. Is that a fair assessment to make?
I don't.
And if that's the case, how do you punish Pitino? He's gotten 2 rings. He's been successful at every program. He hasn't turned out gangsters and violent drug dealers. I mean, most of the kids that played for him respect him, like him. Of course, if my head coach was getting me hookers every night, I'd probably like him too.
Exactly. And let me ask you this, though. If
okay.
He's that good of a coach, why is it when he gets around grown men, they eat his ass up and spit him out?
Well, I think
with the
no
New
doubt.
York Knicks.
See, Pitino's pure East Coast. I mean, he's from New York. He's a
bullshit artist. He's a bullshit artist.
Yeah, but how many people from the East Coast are not bullshit artists?
Yeah, but this is the thing.
I don't mean that in a negative way.
Yeah, but how about this? You get a guy
that's their nature.
You get a guy like Brad Stevens has been successful. He's successful both places because he's a good person and he's a good coach. I don't think Butler was paying guys. I think Michigan.
Brad
when
Stevens was from Indianapolis.
Yeah. And
from the East Coast.
But my point is this. He was a guy that could coach at any level because the guys really do respect him. I think that a lot of Pitino's respect comes from, well, we won with him. And I don't
Right.
think you can say, if I'm Iona, why the hell would you do this? I mean, you get
Well,
Seamus,
why would you
Seamus
not
Carey.
do it?
Hold on, I can tell you. Seamus Carey became the president of Iona College last July after holding the same job at Transylvania University in Kentucky since 2014.
Okay.
So put it like this: Carey, like Pitino, is a native New Yorker who recently worked in Kentucky. They have been close. They have close mutual friends, and you combine that with the fact that Pitino once owned horses with prominent Iona benefactor and booster Robert V. LaPenta. I don't think it's difficult to connect the dots, and Pitino's going to win big time because I'll guarantee you that guy who owns the horses, who's a multimillionaire, will make sure that Rick Pitino's got some players.
Hmm.
So
I mean, really, how much damage is Pitino going to be able to wreak on college basketball at Iona? Their gym holds
I can tell you this:
2,600 people.
This is.
I mean,
this is
and
the way
I was
look
there
at
when
it.
Valavina. I mean, I toured with Jeff Ruland. We were seniors the same year. We played on a traveling all-star team. Valvano was the coach. This was before any of them had gotten big. You know, Iona went on to become an NBA all-star.
Well, they were good when Valvano was there. They went to the tournament.
Oh, it was legendary. Yeah, they were legendary. Yeah, but their gym, my son's high school gym, was bigger than the gym Iona plays.
Oh, come on.
How
You're in
much
Indiana.
damage?
You know what? When I went to Indiana State, there was bigger crowds for my high school games than college games.
Well, that was Indiana State.
Yeah. What's your point? It's better than Iona.
I just don't. I think that in the end, the NCAA probably wants Pitino
I'll
at,
guarantee
although they'll
you they
never
do.
admit it.
We're going to see a lot more Iona games on ESPN if we ever play college
gosh,
basketball
yeah.
games again.
Well, they're going to relive the entire Valvano legend. They're going to that because that's where Valvano cut his teeth, was at Iona. And they're gonna bring that all back up and you know, turn that back into the Jimmy V Foundation. I mean, this is a machine. The NCAA is a marketing machine. Pitino, I think, is just a pawn in this thing. I think he probably has bent the rules pretty much everywhere he has gone.
I don't think he
Or he
bent
has-
them. If you're paying players like $100,000, I think it's more than bending rules.
But he's not the only one that's doing that. Do we
Okay,
really
so it's
think-
okay.
No, well, it's okay until the NCAA puts a hammer down, starts investigating and penalizing these schools, not based on the name that's on the front of their jersey, but based on the names that are on the back of their jersey.
Well, how about this? If you're a school of higher education, the way Iona is supposed to be, why do you need the NCAA tell you that it's not right to cheat?
Well, we talked to McCants. Look at
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
the bigger the programs,
can't-
but with a smaller programs, sometimes you think maybe they wouldn't do stuff like that because maybe they're more. Because how many kids from Iona are going to the NBA? How many kids from Iona have went to the NBA since Jeff Ruland?
Jeff Ruland.
Yeah, since Jeff Ruland. How many?
Yeah, that's one. That was in 1977 to 81 when I played. I mean, that's what 40 years ago. That's the last time that I knowingly know of a player that went to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some.
Yeah, there's probably some that latched on as a 12th player on a team somewhere, whatnot. But I don't think that this, because there are other coaches out there who are probably as guilty as Pitino, they just haven't been caught. Pitino's a little flamboyant. He's a pretty boy. He's got a gorgeous, one-time gorgeous wife. I haven't seen his wife recently, but
Well, she's not too gorgeous if he's cheating on her.
yeah. But I don't think Pitino is any less qualified. I mean, in terms of a coach, if I was a program like Iona, I'd kill to get a Rick Pitino coach in my program.
So you'd
Why
sell
would
your
why
soul
would
for it.
Iona not want him? He's
Because,
gonna fill the
I mean,
stadium.
number one, if you're Iona and he goes there and he wins, no matter what he says about that's where he's staying the rest of his life, his ass is out of there the first chance he gets.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
he'll be back at
and then your
UCLA.
program will be right back to what it was before.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
put it like this. If he really wants to be in that area so bad, oh, he just got to wait until, St. John's has an opening or one of those schools up there.
Right.
Because
Syracuse,
St. John's will jump on him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's his overall mission statement, is to go up to Iona, build a name for himself back up in there, and retire coaching at like a St. John's or somewhere in that vicinity out on the East Coast, which is his home. I always felt that Pitino and his wife were perfect to go coach UCLA. I think he'd have won championships at UCLA.
Yeah, probably because he's going to get the best players.
Yeah, he's going to get the support. The money's out here, whatever they want. But for some reason, they never came west. The scuttlebutt was that he was too far away from horse racing, that he had really gotten into the horse racing thing. Still owns horses.
Yeah, and that's why one of his
making
best
money
friends
there.
Is one of those guys.
So I don't think it does any damage for Rick Pitino to be coaching NCAA as the NCAA sits right now.
Yeah, but the problem is the way the NCAA sits right now, they take advantage of players. They're basically slaves for the coaches. And that's bullshit. Yeah, and that's wrong.
But is that on Pitino? Is Pitino just massaging the system?
Yeah. No, wait a second.
Or is he creating the system?
Hey, this is the thing. If you are willing to pay for abortions while you're cheating on your wife, and you're willing to pay players to come play for you, and you're willing to, if I send my kid to a college and he's 19 years old, I'm doing that because I trust the coach. And if the coach is hooking him up with hookers and prostitutes and strippers or whatever you want to call it, I just don't think that's where I'd want my kid to go.
Well, let's address that. Let's address that real quick. And I speak because I played college basketball under a coach who arguably is considered one of the cleanest coaches ever to coach.
How about this, Steve? We're not gonna name any names, but out of all the schools that contacted you that you went and visited, how many of them offered you something to come play there?
Everybody, except for the one I ended up playing at.
All right. So, in the end, you made the right decision because you get to win a national championship that way.
Right.
But you also know that you did it the right way. And the other problem is this, so you get a lot of 18, 19-year-old kids that I'm not saying you grow up freaking rich or anything because I don't know how you grew up, but you're also not growing up in a tenement in Cabrini Green in Chicago or in downtown Detroit, which could have changed that also. Now, in those cases, though, I will say this. I don't think the kids that take the money should ever be punished.
Not under the current circumstances.
No, I mean, without them getting back, I don't care. If you would have taken the money, I wouldn't say, and you would have went to whatever school offered you money, I'd say, well, hell, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You're an 18, 19-year-old kid. Why shouldn't you get paid? Especially when guys like Rick Pitino are making millions of dollars cheating and basically using you. So when people tell me, the argument you gave me, I completely understand and agree with. They let all these other guys do it. Why not let Pitino? My complete argument to this is this. Why are we letting anybody doing it? Why don't we put a stop to it? If we want to sit here and we act like these kids are getting everything out of their college education and that's enough for the billions of dollars that they bring into these sports athletic departments' coffers, don't play that game. I mean, at least give them somebody who will take care of them and somebody who will take care of them. Wink, wink.
Yeah, and I don't. Again, I go back to saying why I somewhat begrudgingly defend Pitino. I don't think that he's the root of all evil in NCAA basketball, and until you're willing to knock Sean Miller out, Bill Self out,
I'm willing to.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you and I don't make those decisions. And the NCAA, as long as they're pouring money into the coffers of which the NCAA gets a large kick of that back every time they turn around. They're not going to do it either. You know, when they're carrying a 501c exemption or a tax exempt, I don't know if it's a 501c, it may be something a lot more detailed than that, but they're carrying a tax exempt status, and they're pocketing $1 billion a year profit.
And then acting like they're not making, and then acting like every school.
Yeah,
is
acting like they're not making any money. Yeah. So I don't think this is on Pitino. I think there's questionable judgment there in terms of if there was hookers involved, if there was.
I'll tell you what, I have less problem.
Nature,
I have less
but
problem.
But it's not
with,
been proven.
I have, yeah, it has been proven. It's not. What the case is this?
It's not been proven that Pitino was tied to it.
This is Pitino's program. He's tied to whatever happens at it, and this is the thing. He's not a coach I want if he doesn't have control of his program.
Yeah.
And every program he's been, he has not had control of that program. So even my point is this: even if he didn't know about it, I still don't want him, because that means he doesn't run his program the way I want my head coach to run my program, which means he has control and he knows what's going on. And, you know, it's just like if you're the store manager at Lowe's, if somebody in plumbing screws something up and it costs the store a lot of money, you can fire that guy, but your boss is coming after your ass.
Right.
So
I see your point.
So let's look at the NCAA.
And they came after him. I mean, his bosses came after him. They removed him as head coach at Louisville.
Yeah, but you know what? If that happens in the real world at Lowe's, Home Depot's not hiring you. Even if you were extremely successful up until then.
You know, I didn't research that, but I'll bet I could find a lot of CEOs that have been bumped.
Now, we're not talking about CEOs. We're just talking about a store manager. You know, your local
but isn't
store.
Pitino, isn't he a CEO in effect?
Nah, he's I would say the CEO's the guy who runs the
president
school.
of the university.
Yeah, he's got higher ups, and the thing is this: those higher ups are at fault also because they hired the man that had no clue what was going on. And once again, I can tell you this: I know that I always bring this stuff up, but I'm not sending my kids somewhere where the head coach screwed around on his wife and had to pay for an abortion. That's simple. Because I'm sending my kids somewhere away from my home for the first time in his life, and I would like somebody with a little bit of decency to be in charge.
Okay, and let me throw this at you, Justice. So that's fine if you're Steve Risley and you're a journeyman player who's going to make contributions to a team, not start half the time, start half the time. But what if you're an elite player? You know, the upper five. You are a dapper dandy.
Upper five ain't going to Iona.
And you want to just get to the person that can get him the highest in the draft, get him the most money, and get him in the NBA is guaranteed. Does a Pitino or a Calipari or a Bill Self all of a sudden elevate themselves in that situation? And does the NCAA want those guys around to keep dumping these players in the NBA and showing, you know, our system is good? We prepare players to play.
All those guys. I mean, what guys did he have to prepare to play? I mean, most of the guys that went to Kentucky were studs when they got there. And, yeah, I mean, he's a great coach. I didn't say he wasn't. I'm just saying that in a high school or college setting, there should be more important things than whether you're a great coach. Because 99% of those guys are never stepping on an NBA court with a uniform on.
You're talking about overall players in the
overall
NCAA.
Players, NCAA
like
Division
me.
I. Yeah. Most guys,
like me.
most
I
guys are like
the
you.
court.
They're just guys who were really, really good in high school. But there's levels to things, and there's not many guys that are Jeff Ruland.
Right. But
Jeff Ruland, I mean, this is the thing. I saw you play, and you were a good player. But you watched Jeff Ruland play. I mean, I watched him drop 25 and get 15 rebounds in an NBA playoff game before.
Yeah.
There's
No, he
not
was
many
a
of those
beast.
guys in the world.
No, Ruland was a beast. There's no doubt about it. He's a good guy, too. I mean, like I said, I toured with him on a traveling all-star team for a summer when I was in high school. We both were coming out of high school and going to colleges. And he was right up from that area.
Here's my question.
He
Was recruited heavily, wasn't he?
Yeah, sure. But he was from that area.
Yeah, but even though he's from that area,
right?
You know where I'm going there, right?
Well, Valvano, I think.
Yeah, I know.
I think he had a nice penthouse apartment in Manhattan.
I'm not going to speak of the dead. How about that?
No, I'm not exactly. I agree with you entire set, but there definitely was some shenanigans
Put it like
going on
this.
there. So
if Bobby Joe Johnson was the head coach of Iona, Jeff Ruland would have been somewhere else.
No, exactly.
But
touche.
All right,
well played.
real quick,
Yeah.
let's hit this. NCAA has basically said college basketball players, or basically fall and winter sports athletes, will not get a fifth year of eligibility. What do you think there, Steve? Should NCAA basketball players get a fifth year?
Yes.
Why?
Because they didn't get to complete the season, because of the tournament, having played in the tournament multiple times. It's a once-in-a-lifetime shot. These kids have made sacrifices for these programs, and especially a lot of these seniors who it's going to be their last college game, their last basketball game. My last game I played in, other than going to Europe for a little bit period of time and playing, was the national championship game at Indiana. To have that been taken away from me and deprived would have been heartbreaking because of something that's completely out of our hands. We didn't cheat. We didn't do anything derogatory. And I know you've made the argument that, well, the season was over for all but 67 of the teams anyway.
Well, no,
but
it wasn't, but it was over for some of them. And I haven't really made an argument because I can see this like both ways, because I think the negatives here against this, when I think about it since we talked, I mean, the negatives may not be negatives and the positives may not be positives. And what I mean by that, there's a ton of unintended consequences that could happen like this. And the first is it would really suck for freshmen who have committed to a school for a long, just think about you. You're getting ready to go to IU, the 77, 78 season? And, what if Kent Benson and all these guys had another year and all of a sudden they decided to stay? And that kind of screws you over. But at the same time, recruiting turnover happens all the time anyways. And I think the other problem you have with the NCAA is there would be a huge amount of tampering here from places, especially if you're like a mid-major or smaller school. And you got a fourth-year senior who's a stud who decides to go to the NBA, and all of a sudden you got to fill that spot in. And the other issue, I think, is who gets the extra year? Is this only fourth-year seniors? Would fifth-year seniors get a 6-year? Would it be a one-time thing? I'm sure it would be. But that's the thing. I mean, you got the grad transfers. You got a fourth-year senior, a fifth-year senior. You're giving a fifth-year senior 6 years. And the other question has got to be, could the NCAA even pull it off? Because I don't think they're the best-run organization in America.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's a litany of hoops that have got to be jumped through because, like you said, you have, I think, is it 15 scholarships?
Well, you get 12 right now. So you would have
only
to –
10 or 12?
Yeah, so the other thing is this, though. You got a lot of teams, like Duke this year only had 10 scholarship players. And this is where I'm kind of up in the air on this because most of the top 20 schools didn't hit 13 scholarship players on their roster. I mean, Duke had 10. Villanova basically only had 10 for most of the year. Kentucky only had 9. So really, is it that big a deal to give 3 or more scholarships? And the other thing is, when you look at red shirts, maybe more guys get red shirted. And I know red shirt is like the worst word you can tell a player. But if you're a freshman coming in, and we look at past national championship teams, look at Villanova. 2018, their title team, 4 of the top 6 players were all players who had taken a red shirt year at one point. Now, some of those were due to grades and injuries, but still, you could red shirt some. So actually, I would think this. I would think it should be done because, and the reason I think that is this. I think it's about time the NCAA worries more about the players than they do themselves.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make.
Because,
this is about the players.
Yeah, I mean, it should be about the players, but nothing with the NCAA is ever about the players.
Yeah.
I mean, the perfect
That's
example.
That's why I think it won't happen.
The most hideous example of the NCAA recently was Shabazz Napier, who went to bed hungry every night. And the NCAA did come back and they changed the rules 2 weeks later to allow unlimited meals. Why the hell weren't they allowed to begin with?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, and then the FBI flips college basketball in its head. The NCAA changes multiple rules there on the fly just to adjust and cover their ass. So when I look at this, I agree with you. I think these players should be given an extra year. And, I mean, it's going to cause logistical nightmares for people.
Right.
But it's the only right thing to do, especially when you're basically getting free work from these guys that are bringing you billions of dollars a year. I'd say if you're NCAA, maybe you had to get your head out of your ass and figure things out for once.
I agree entirely. I financially, it's not a problem. I mean, all these universities have plenty of money in the coffers. The ones that don't have the money, the NCAA certainly is sitting on multiple nest eggs.
Well, how about this? The NCAA should just pay
cover.
for all the scholarships. I mean, hell, they've got billions of dollars in network TV deals.
Right. I agree. But I think if you truly are about the student athlete, and I just know as a player how my life would have changed had we not had my senior year.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have gotten to play 2 years with Isaiah.
That could change the job you get coming out of college.
It would have changed the job that I got. Are you kidding? When you're flashing around a national championship ring and going on job hunts, even in 1981, it made a difference.
Yeah,
now,
especially if you go to a place and they are a sports fan. Now, if they're not, they may not give two shits. But if they are, you know, oh, this guy played for Bobby Knight. He won a national championship. I just want him here so I can tell everybody I got him here.
Exactly. And there was a large part of that in my endeavors in work field that I got in to see people that nobody else got in to see, not because I was a genius salesperson or sales manager. It's because I was a basketball player from Indiana and could parlay that into opening doors.
Yeah. So
and
it
to have
affects
that
everything.
taken away from these kids, because of the coronavirus and, you know, something entirely, it's not like Pitino's situation where Pitino made his own bet. Whatever he gets, you know what, in the end, and I'm fine with Rick Pitino coaching in the NCAA again. I think as long as the system works like it does, you got to let him coach.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're all right with it. That just means that you're all right with the system continuing.
Yeah.
They need to stop the system.
I want the system changed. Yeah, I want the system changed, but it's not going to change. They're going to keep sweeping things over and burying things like they do. They're going to do damage control. They're kind of like that deal with the Ford Pinto. You know, Ford knew that if you rear-ended a Pinto, it was going to explode and kill people.
Well, yeah, it's only 3 feet long, too. So.
Yeah, they said that they'll take the loss on a lawsuit and pay it out on a case-by-case basis rather than spend the money to fix the damn car. So it didn't explode when you rear-ended it.
Well, how about this?
There's a lot of legend
I've got another
that,
question
but
for you.
that's what the NCAA is. They just put out fires when a fire occurs.
I'm going to switch this.
There and say,
how desperate are you to watch sports? Were you desperate enough to watch WrestleMania yesterday?
No, I have not, but it's only because I don't know when it's on. It's on Fox, on Friday nights or something, didn't it?
No, it was WrestleMania. It's like a 2-day event. And they had I didn't even see any of it. I just saw people posting about it because I don't watch wrestling because I'm not 12. But
I don't either, but it's sports. It's actually
really.
Entertainment.
How about this? The guys are athletes, but it's not a sport because you already know who won.
Well, I've been reading too much about the steroid use in the WrestleMania.
Oh, dude, steroid use is in every sport, though. You can't watch football
I'm aware of
either.
that, but yeah, I just read one where there was a guy who was world champion, and he went in and he killed his kid and killed his wife, and he was, you know, just they said it was from steroid abuse. And
that is not true.
Okay.
It's just not.
Yeah, I haven't, and I got to be careful because I haven't studied it close enough, but I'm still not of the volition. Now, I think that McMahon did a good job with the XFL, given the first half of the season they got to play. Things were looking a lot better than other startup leagues had looked.
Yeah, I still think in the end it's probably going to fail, but it was a lot better attempt than the Alliance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it was a better attempt.
Well,
and even
put it
better
like this. I think the lack of quarterbacks is going to be the thing that eventually just kills that league.
Yeah.
It's hard to have good quality football with quarterbacks that
they'll get Jacoby Brissett.
No, they won't. The Colts got him for now.
Yeah, I know, but see how much they want to pay him.
They've already paid him for a couple years.
Yeah.
They're good.
I don't know. But back to our original thing. Again, we've talked about two different subjects, Pitino and now the NCAA, but the common denominator here, are we talking about the players getting another year of eligibility? The common denominator in both those topics that we've talked about today has been what? It's been the NCAA.
Yeah.
And again, therein lies your problem, is the NCAA. I've never seen an organization skirt sides of bars as much as they do and get away with it. But it's college basketball. It's the most lucrative sport on television aside from the NFL. And I saw where Trump has gone on and about all but guaranteed that he's going to fix it so the NFL will be able to start on time.
He can't fix that unless they quarantine the players and just keep them in play with no crowd. That's why I brought up the WrestleMania thing, because the one thing, I mean, I think with no crowd.
Were there crowds at the WrestleMania? Were there crowds there?
No crowds. They quarantined the athletes. The athletes did their thing, and that was
God,
it.
how boring that must have been.
Dude, I don't see how you can watch an NFL game without a crowd and it not affect the general. I mean, this is the thing. I coached arena football, and sometimes we'd come out in a 7,000-seat arena, and there'd be 6,000, 7,000 people. Sometimes we'd come out and we'd play a team in Detroit or something that was 0-6, and there'd be 100 people in the arena. There's a big difference even for the players in playing in that. Now, I mean, you could kind of block it out after a while and you want to win the game and then you start playing your ass off. But how does this affect everything else? Because I also saw the other day the Major League Baseball, if this thing looks like it's close to clearing up, a few weeks out, may quarantine all the players in spring training so they can finish up the spring training so everybody's ready to go right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw where Trump's calling the MLB owners today, too. He's going to talk
He called all the heads, because this is what they want. They want this to be as normal as possible, because when they come out and give you what's going on, it's not true. I can tell you this. I can tell you.
Touché. Well said.
I had an email today, and I'm not going to say who it is, but it's a kid that I coach, and the mom owns a funeral home in Ohio, and she got an email from the United States government, I think it was last night or this morning, saying that they were overrun with deaths and that they were looking for funeral directors to come help out.
Yeah, and the point is...
right now, what they're trying to do is keep everybody as calm as possible. That's why you get all this time that Trump's lying and everything, and he is, because, number one, he's a politician, and that's what they do. Except for Joe Biden, who just forgets. But when you look at this, I mean, everybody thinks that, well, by July and August, we'll have baseball and football, and we probably won't. Right now, if you look at all the other places, if this lasts 4 months, we're only 25-30% of the way through this.
Yeah, I mean, they're out here in L.A., they're hoping they can start school in the fall.
Yeah.
I mean, Gavin Newsom, our governor's been pretty good through this, honestly. In the big scheme of things, they're all, like you said, politicians, but our governor unlike Cuomo, who's just kind of been a loose cannon. But again, he's that East Coast mentality that Pitino has. You know, the squeaky wheel gets greased. But they're talking about this thing is not going to end anytime too soon. No. I mean, we may be in quarantine for quite some time.
Yeah, I think, best case scenario, we're done early June. But then the thing is, what if it comes back? Because they don't even talk about that. And if you look at the Spanish flu in 1918, 1917, that thing, the second time it came back, was more deadly than the first time.
Yeah. Well, so, the strain will manifest itself, so it will handle anything we create now will be obsolete within a year.
Just like the regular flu. I mean, the regular flu virus doesn't do anything. They're just guessing.
Yeah, and I sold antibiotics for 24 years, so I understand how an antibiotic
you understand that it's all a shell game, and bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, these bugs coronavirus is smart, and it'll manifest itself and protect itself. So we're a long way away from eradicating this. This thing ain't going to fix itself in time to watch the Firecracker 400.
No, and the thing that gets me is
a NASCAR race. Yeah.
The thing that gets me is this. Everybody's sitting around, well, it's just like the flu. More people died from the flu, but they're taking a number from a whole year. We're only a couple months in.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing. Yeah. If you start looking up news from different cities and stuff, there's all kind of people that are 25 or 30 that are completely healthy that are dropping dead.
Yep.
And all they keep saying is, if you're old, you got to worry. No, you got to worry either way. So keep your asses home and listen to Survive in Advance with Mike and Steve.
There you go. No doubt. And on that note,
we're going to wrap it up.
So what's your point? Pitino in or out? Well, just to recap.
Pitino should be out. They all should be out.
I say in. Well, if they're all out, then I'm fine.
It has to be. It's got to be one or the other, Steve. It can't be, well, they let a bunch of other scumbags do scummy stuff, so we're going to let him do scummy stuff, too.
Pitino,
yeah, because I have this argument with Bobby Sheridan all the time. And my point is this. I know what other people have done. I don't care. They all should be gone. They all should be eradicated because they're all dregs on society. I mean, what we have anymore in this world is a bunch of people that are just out for themselves. We see it every day in every form of life. So at some point, people need to stand up and say, maybe we ought to clean this crap up. And until they do, you're going to be boxed in your house with not enough toilet paper.
Yeah, that's the environment that the NCAA creates right now, allows to be created. Until they put their foot down and say, we are going to license you, you've got to, and you're going to, that license is your ticket to coach. And we can revoke that license with a snap of a finger.
Yeah, but they've got that. They can do that. They've done it.
They don't.
No.
Yeah.
They'll do it if you if you coach a small school.
Yeah. I don't think that Rick Pitino going to Iona is going to hurt the NCAA. I think that Iona is going to be a darling team. They're going to be on ESPN, like he said. They're going to be kind of almost a Milan type effect.
Except for the fact they're not going to win the championship.
Exactly, yeah. But still, they're going to be that small school, and I believe Pitino's a good enough coach. He'll get wins.
No, he'll get good enough players. He'll get good enough players.
They play with the NAAC. It's not like that's a conference that he can't outcoach coaches at.
That's Siena, teams like that, isn't it?
Yeah. He's going to win a lot of games, and he'll put his team in the tournament probably before Indiana gets in the tournament. Sadly.
Nah, Indiana will win it all next year if there's a tournament.
Well, I'll take that bet on any odds you want to throw out there.
Okay, $5 billion to 1, and I'll bet you $1.
Oh, you're on.
All right. So you'll owe me $5 billion.
For my dollar.
I will come collect, or I will send.
When we're done.
I'm going to send Bobby Sheridan to collect too, early April.
That's not Bobby Sheridan scares me. It's Bobby Sheridan's associates.
Who are his associates?
I don't know, but it's probably Igor, Ivan, Rocco, and
Bobby just bets on games. He's not a bookmaker, right? I think you got the bookie mixed up with the bettor.
Probably so.
But you know what?
I don't even know. What day is today? Today's Saturday or Sunday?
Nah, it's Sunday because Wednesday I went to take the trash out. because I thought the next day was Thursday, which was trash day. And my son's like, "Where are you going with the trash?" And I said, "Tomorrow's trash day." And he said, "No, tomorrow's Saturday." And I said, "Oh, okay." All right.
This thing's so bad. I bought a brand new Ram 1500 pickup truck. It's 3 months old, and I've got 280 miles on it.
Dude, that's good. You'll be able to drive it for an extra year after this.
Oh, I know. I have to change the oil for a month of Sundays.
I don't know if
anyway, we started on a kind of a somber note, losing
Ed Biles.
Ed Biles, and we ended with we lost Tom Dempsey too. And for those of you that are young enough that don't know, Tom Dempsey, for how long did he hold that record, Mike?
Until a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was a 63-yard field goal for the New Orleans Saints. He was disabled and handicapped. He had a block foot and no fingers on his right hand, born deformed, and made a mountain out of a molehill in a good way, in a positive way. Had a fairly strong 11-year career in the NFL, and he passed away from coronas. I think he was 79 or maybe. He had Alzheimer's and dementia as well, but the coronas is what he was living in a assisted living nursing home facility, and the coronas got him. So we lost Tom Dempsey, who, like I said, he held that record, and now he gets beat.
I think it was till like 2012 or 2013, because I think Matt Prater broke it. I think he kicked like a 64-yarder
or something. Yeah. And now it seems to get broken routinely. These guys now, and of course he kicked American style straight on. He didn't use the soccer style kicking, but he did have the block foot, which they said gave him an advantage too, because he got a square foot on the ball. I don't know, but we lost him, so it's sad. We're losing good people to this, and we got to hope we get it cured and taken care of. But I'm fine with Pitino coaching. I think the NCAA owes these kids another year of eligibility to play. They'll have to figure it out and fix it. I think they were in the middle of the season. They didn't get to complete the season. And maybe for a show down the road, it bides the fact, what should they do with this tournament? If they get the opportunity, do they play it, or they just say no tournament?
It's going to be too late. It's going to be too late.
Yeah, I think we're getting at that point.
We're already
by
past
June.
that point.
If we don't have something in place by June, we are definitely past it. And I think you're probably
it's done now, Steve. There's no tournament. But
I don't think there's any sporting events for the rest of the year. Maybe till December or January or something. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think maybe by July or August. That's
Trump's out there trumpeting right now that the next 2 weeks are going to be the two worst weeks of this whole event.
Yeah, and then he says that by May 1st we'll be rolling again.
Yeah, NFL will start on time.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes what's the old saying? Better to keep your mouth shut and let people think you're an idiot than to open it and prove it.
Well, like I said, I think he's just trying to give some people a sense of security, because most times in this country, especially over the last 50 to 80 years, people are just looking to be safe instead of actually to live. And I think what should have happened, they should have locked everything down in January or February, kept everybody in their house for 3 weeks, and we'd have probably been all right.
Well, I was reading about, I think it was J&J this morning. I was watching a news report that I did a little bit of reading on it. They actually started working on a coronavirus in January, long before this hit the United States at all. That they saw this coming, and they got on it, and they are right now pretty close to coming up with that's got to be gone through the approval process. But they are manufacturing in bulk volume right now, so if it does get approved, they can launch it immediately. And that could be
a vaccine?
What it takes. A vaccine,
I ain't taking no damn vaccine. Nick shoved that up their ass.
There you go.
Seriously. That's bullshit. It takes a year to year and a half normally to have a vaccine for anything. But they can make a lot of money.
Well, it takes that long to get it approved. You can make the vaccine in a lab in a week.
Sure.
The problem is getting it approved.
Mm-hmm.
So,
unfortunately, most of them do not work the way they're supposed to, or they give them to us with mercury or thimerosal in it.
That's why drugs cost so much money. You get a 22-year patent life on a drug.
That's not
When
why
you create
drugs
a
cost
compound-
too much money. Drugs cost too much money because of our healthcare system and the way that every year Big Pharma gives $4 billion to politicians.
I got to pay for my pension, man.
Mm-hmm. So you can get your Dodge Ram that you can't even drive now.
I can't even drive it.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up tonight. We will have a special Inside Boxing Weekly Edition with me, Jeremiah, and Michael Montero from Montero on Boxing. Michael also writes for The Ring magazine. But make sure you check that out. We're going to go through our top 10 pound-for-pound rankings of today's fighters. So you can hear that on thegruelingtruth.com also. And, Steve, whenever you come up with a couple topics, me and you will be back. So figure out something, text it to me, and we'll roll again. But for now, make sure you follow The Grueling Truth at Grueling Truth. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.